I'm really all about doing the smallest thing. That's what I recommend. Do the smallest thing. What is the smallest thing that you can do to make a change that will feel successful?
Hi, this is Rusty Keeler, and you're listening to the Play Nature Podcast, where we talk about play, nature, playing in nature, and the nature of play. I'm glad you're here. Let's have a listen.
All right. Welcome to the podcast. I'm glad you're here. Yeah. And I'm back in the wood spot above the creek, which is flowing fast and chocolatey after more storms. But it's kind of nice here being in the woods. Oh, there's new fresh green here in Ithaca, springtime. And it's blowing, all the little leaves are blowing in the wind. And it's, yes, very sweet. And so I'm glad you're here with me. And so today, we're going to talk about the great motto: dream big, start small, and never stop. Dream big, start small, never stop. And that is one of my favorite mottos, of course, when it comes to growing your outdoor play space and your outdoor play practice. But it's also a good motto for life. It's a good rule for our life path. Dream big, start small, and never stop. So I'm going to get into that. And at the end, I'll answer some questions. Maybe as you're dreaming big and starting small, I'll answer the question for some new nature play starting small projects of building a hill. How do you build a hill? And advice for building a sand area. Okay, so maybe those are some of the starting small first projects somebody might be tackling. But this dreaming big, starting small, never stopping. I love it for life, and I love it for playground projects too. And the dreaming big, it involves kind of thoughtful planning. That's kind of the dreaming big. You're dreaming, and then you plan. And you don't have to do it all at once. The starting small, that's the taking action. So it's the dream, and then it's taking action, and then it's the perseverance. That's the never stopping. On your path, on your journey, in your playscape building adventures, never stopping. I got a great fortune cookie not long ago that said, "Success is usually the fruit of patience." The fruit of patience. And I took that as kind of the dreaming big, starting small, and never stopping. That it'll happen. Your dreams will happen, but with steady work. Progress, additions, steps, stages. You keep it going. Things don't have to happen all at once. Sometimes we want overnight success. But, so many stories of people who seem successful in life, the backstory is that it was progress. Whether it was your favorite rock band, how they formed and made it big, favorite actor, or professor, or, any other professional, or anybody. It's often like they had the dream and then they just started working towards it. So the same thing with kids. Small changes. And that's kind of the beauty of wanting to make change in your outdoor space. We dream it up, right? And we want to see it on a big scale, adult scale. But the starting small is brilliant. It's a great way to go. Because any small change you make in your outdoor space makes a huge difference for your children. Totally changes their world, their environment, something new. And that's also the beauty of adding natural elements into your yard, because just like here with the spring coming out and the new green leaves that are quivering in the wind around me, you add natural stuff to your space, even a little bit, and that's changing. That's making small changes. And that could also be the never stopping. The trees are growing, the plants are coming up, the sunflowers start towering. So adding nature does that too. So with playgrounds and my journey in play spaces, here's a little funny story for you. Now, I started off doing play equipment and loved that. And then I got a chance to live in the Netherlands and work with a Dutch playground company. And that was amazing too. And my life changed in many ways. And I had a lot of aha moments. And my professional path really changed. And I was really inspired by the environments I saw. And it was more than just equipment. I saw natural spaces in children's environments. I saw, kindergartens that had hills and berry bushes and, kid-eroded muddy areas. I saw art in public places. I saw art in elementary sculpture in elementary schools, all sorts of stuff. And I was like, yes, this is what play environments should be. And so I came home and I was like, I know how to build these. I'll do it community built style. Because that was also important to me, that every play environment should be different based on who lives there, what artists there are, what are the skills that could come to a project, and how to save money and do it cheaply and build community at the same time you're building the environment. And so we did that at the company that I worked with, Big Toys in the US. We did some community builds to build the playgrounds, and I was inspired by this custom playground company, Leathers and Associates, that would do these huge Amish barn raisings with hundreds of volunteers. And I was like, all right, we can dream it up, come up with a plan, materials lists and volunteer skill lists, and we'll do these big things and we'll build it all. Yeah. And so we did it. So I did that for a bunch of years and loved it, and building new spaces and working with communities and all sorts of stuff. And then I went over there back to Europe for a study tour in Berlin, and I saw all these green schoolyards, and there were sculptures and water play areas and sand play areas, cob houses and musical areas, and I was like, yes, there it is again. I want to do all these big things, and we'll do it in big builds. So I kept going with that. And then I went back to Germany, went to Berlin again, and took another tour. And I realized I might have missed something the first time around. But maybe I was so enraptured, agog, with all that I was seeing in these schoolyards that maybe I wasn't listening carefully enough. These schoolyards weren't built all at once. No. Far from it. Each of these things was kind of built one project each year. One class built these cob straw bale playhouses. Another year they built a whole sculpture. Another year they built water play. Another year they did a musical area. Another year they planted their orchard. Another year and I was like, oh, okay. So it's funny, because we can get these different ideas in our head, and we can charge ahead, and we can be successful with it. That's a kind of funny thing about me, this young guy, all inspired. Yeah, we'll do it. There's a great quote, it reminds me of, from Mark Twain, that says, all you need in this life is ignorance and confidence. Then success is sure. So I had the ignorance and confidence. And fun. Right? It was great to do all these big builds, get the community together and have this sense of satisfaction like we did it. But I will admit that there were a few times when it was pouring down rain and I was digging in the mud and I was like, could there be another way? So the other way could be, instead of dreaming big and starting big, you can dream big and then start small. And then you keep it going. So I also got exposed to this idea of this fellow in the UK that has a slow playground movement where things take time and you're adding to it and you're living with it. You're living with the changes and then you're adding to the changes. I just visited an incredible after-school program at a couple's house in North Carolina, and they'd been doing this after-school childcare for 30 years, at least maybe 40 years. And the place was incredible. And you could never build it all at once. There were just so many pieces and parts and attention to detail and little additions and little surprises and things that built year after year after year. And so I started liking that idea of like, well, what if instead of big, huge projects that are, grueling in some ways, exciting but grueling, what if there were small, manageable projects? So I started liking to do more local projects, more like one-day builds or half-day builds. Build a willow hut, build some outdoor classroom materials, do mud kitchens, and then also doing plans, master plans, and then just picking little projects to do in steps and stages. Now, big builds are still exciting. And of course, there's, new schools and new childcare centers popping up all over the place, and they need to do new yards, new playgrounds. So might as well do the natural, awesome play space, right? With hills and pathways and sound elements and sand and water and mud and boulders and all that kind of stuff. Go for it. But most of us aren't building whole, complete yards from scratch, right? You may already have your yard or your backyard. And probably most of us don't have big budgets to do a whole new yard or big additions. So that's also the beauty of starting small. But it's the big dreams. Don't have to, no matter what your budget is, you can dream big. You don't have to limit your dreams. Blue sky thinking. Sky's the limit. Yeah. And so that's what I think. That's the best way to do it. Dream big. Yeah, think about your outdoor space, your backyard, your play area, and dream it up. What would you like to see out there? How do you want it to be? What kind of opportunities do you want to provide for your children? And I'm all about master plans. The master plan. So, and that's one of the big things that I help people with. Come up with a master plan and then start thinking about, okay, what projects are you going to pick to start tackling? What's your first project? What's the next one? What's your next step? So you visualize it. The master plan helps you see it, how it's all going to fit and flow together, and then you just start picking projects. And I'm really all about doing the smallest thing. That's what I recommend. Do the smallest thing. What is the smallest thing that you can do to make a change that will feel successful? An easy win. Easy success. Could you do a sunflower house? Could you add some straw bales as loose parts? Could you build a hill? Could you enlarge a sand area? Yeah. So you can think about that. What master plan, dream it up, and then think about, okay, what project do you want to start first? And then how can you bring in the community to help you? Have a party, a work party. Get some pizzas, get some food, and celebrate. Enjoy. Spend the day together, working it. Get to know your community, your people, your parents, your friends in new ways, digging in the dirt with them, and celebrate. And repeat. Do it again. And the same goes for loose parts. Dream it up. Dream big, but then start small. What's the simplest thing that you can do? The smallest thing. Maybe that's adding the cardboard boxes. Yeah. And it might not seem big deal to us as adults. I didn't do much. I just added some cardboard boxes. But to the children, you've changed the entire world, the entire outdoor space, the entire environment by adding cardboard boxes. Or your big dream might be risky play. Saying yes to more kinds of play. And so maybe the starting small. You dream big. All right, I want an adventure playground and tons of loose parts and kids are climbing trees and bouncing and jumping off logs. But I'm not really ready for that yet. So you start small. Pick something that you can have an easy success with. Maybe it's letting children climb a slide. Ooh. Or maybe you need to work up to that. Or maybe it's yes to going out in the rain. Or yes to climbing a tree. Either way, this idea, dream it up. Nothing wrong with dreaming it up big, but start small. So, with that, let's look at some questions. Here, from you. About dreaming big and starting small. These could be some of the landscape, first starting small projects. To build a hill or mound, would you bring in dirt or just move around what you have? Okay, how to build a hill. So, it could be both. Now, moving dirt, if you were to move around what you have, you could do it with shovels. Right? If you could get a little shovel brigade and dig some stuff up. And sometimes that works, like if you want to dig a hole, if you want a sand pit or something, and you're going to dig, or you're going to make a wood chip trail, and you want to take out some earth and then put in wood chips for the trail, that earth, that dirt, could be formed into a hill. So you could be digging space and then piling it for a hill. Maybe you have dirt or a hill already, but you want to move it, and maybe you have connections to somebody who's got some heavy equipment, a backhoe or a bobcat or a bulldozer. Sure, push it around what you already have. I've done it that way. I've also done it when you just get dump truck loads of dirt and you dump it. Also built hills with wood chips, so you just get dump truck loads of wood chips. In Ithaca, you can get wood chips for free from the city forester. They grind up the trees that they cut down from the city, and then they have a huge mountain of wood chips that you can get. Yeah, but you can also get fill soil. So you can look up where you can get dirt in your hometown, and they can often deliver it. Or you could go get it. If somebody has a pickup truck, you could fill it up and bring that and shovel it. So really either way. And, things don't have to be huge again to make a big difference. So it's fun to have a big, huge hill, a big mountain, or one that's big enough for an embankment slide. But you can also just have little mountains. During COVID, I had a digging challenge for people. Let's see you dig a hole in your backyard. And so my sons did that. We dug a hole, and we just piled the dirt right next to the hole. And it was funny. It was just a lump of dirt. Maybe it was 1 foot high and, 3 feet around. And it was just so funny to watch. Like, it changed the play in our backyard. Because suddenly that little lump, everybody, as they're moving through the space, would run over and stand on it. And then run off to the next thing. And so it was like, it became this, it was like a magnet. So even like a few bumps, if you tried that, you would find that it would change the play. It would add a little sparkle to your outdoor space. So there's a starting small. Dream a big mountain, but start with a little molehill. Ha. Okay, question number 2. Do you have advice for building a sand area? I sure do. Okay, so in the old days, when I was building big playgrounds, I would get more technical. But as I've aged, as I've done more projects, I like things less technical. So I'm fine with taking a dump truck and just dumping a pile of sand and then backing up and letting it go, letting the play go. And so, the edges, grass might be growing in the edges, or maybe it mixes with wood chips, or maybe it mixes with dirt. That's fine. I think it's awesome. The places that do that, I think, are great. The play is amazing. No harm done doing it that way. But you could also, get a little more standard, a little more control over it, and you could dig a sand pit. So, like I was talking about with the hill, that could be good. You could dig the area out and then use the dirt to build the mountain next to the sand pit. I like to have sand areas big so that it's not like a confined sand box, but a big sand area so that there could be children playing more like at the beach, where there's room to have a bunch of kids working on a project, a preschool civil engineering water project with dams and rivers and, digging to China. Or there's enough room that kids can be working side by side, not on the same project. Or there's where you're just being by yourself. There's enough people who can be by themselves in there. So big, huge spaces. That could be a 20 foot by 20 foot, 30 by 30 foot, whatever works in your space. I also like sand pits that are deep. So like 18 inches, foot and a half, so that you can really dig. So you're not just hitting the ground through the sand, you're really digging some big, deep holes. The play changes that way. And then I also sometimes would layer it up, so like for drainage. So with that 18 inches digging down, you could put landscape cloth down first to keep things from growing up, and then an inch or two layer of gravel, and then another layer of landscape cloth to keep the gravel separated from the sand, and then you pile the sand on top of that. The retaining walls for a sand area, people do lots of different things. So in the old days, I used to do vertical logs, all the way around. It's also fun that you can balance on those. I've seen people do horizontal logs. Now, when you use wood for this purpose, it's in the ground. So you want to try to find naturally rot-resistant wood. You could also have pressure-treated wood. I prefer to have like natural rot-resistant wood, like black locust or cedar, white oak. You hear that? There's kids playing in the creek. Okay. I can just see them through the trees, but I can hear them. I've seen retaining walls with boulders. Lots of different things. I also am fine again with having no retaining. You can dig down, have the sand there, but then the edge could be fuzzy. So lots of ways to do it. Dream it big, start it small, try it out, see what happens, and then keep going. So, to help you dreaming big, in the show notes, I have a free resource for you. 20 ways to create natural play environments for the soul. And if you really want to dive deep into master planning, dreaming, drawing, and planning your outdoor play space, I have an online class, an online masterclass about nature play design. So I have a link in the show notes to that, plus a special discount code for you podcast listener. Yeah. All right. Well, dream big, start small, never stop. All right. Till next time, keep playing.
All right. Thanks for listening. Do you have a comment or a question? Email me at playnaturepodcast@gmail.com. I like talking about this stuff. And maybe we could use your question on a future podcast episode. As always, I have some free goodies for you in the show notes, including my outdoor loose parts guide. Fun stuff in there. And so I wish you the best in your outdoor play adventures. And when it comes to adding nature to your yard, or loose parts, or saying yes to risky play, my favorite motto is dream big, start small, and never stop. Oh yeah. Woo, 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 woo. Let's do it. All right. Have fun out there.